what stands ahead of us, this used to be the old cooperative store. Granny would have done her shopping there and she'd have got her dividend at the end of the year. Nowadays, it's been knocked down and this fine building for Ulster University has been put up. There's students from all over the world come here now to Belfast for their education, all affiliated with Queen's University. Coming up on the left is, of course, the St Anne's Cathedral. Did anybody watch Line of Duty? Yeah? Just coming up, not this red brick building, but the next one. That was the police station, just where that bus is pulling up. Adrian Dunbar would have seen going in and out of there. Central Library in Belfast doubled as the police station in Line of Duty. Now we'll be coming back down here later on and we'll go along Royal Avenue, but first of all, it's Royal Avenue in Donegal Place. We'll go along there, but first of all we're going to take you on that tour of Belfast that we promised you. Smithfield Market on our left hand side, not what it used to be. Right now we're on the Protestant side of the community and you're not going to notice it. But we will soon be on the Catholic side of the community, and that is now. There you go, an interface area. No walls in interface areas. Come on, folks.
Indeed.
Now the building that we see ahead of us with the scaffolding round of it, that used to be the Metropolitan College here in Belfast. It's now moved down to the Titanic Quarter down near the docks, and this has been turned into student accommodation. Quite elaborate student accommodation apparently. Really, when they would put another deck on top of it, a double decker take the same amount of people and take up half the road space. And then of course we have got the bus lanes. You're alright, in this thing we can go into the bus lanes because we are registered as a coach. We're going to stay behind them rather than getting past them because we're going to be stopping slightly up here just for a little bit. We've been on this little bit of road before when we first left Belfast. And then just beyond where that double decker is going, if you look over the top, we'll just get closer to that bus. Look over the top of that white factory there and the buildings, the houses there. Can you see that fence along it? Oh, there's that van stopped right in the way. It's a bit of a fence going up there. You see as we move forward, that is the top of the peace wall. We are now on what would be recognised as the Catholic side of the community. And the Irish flag flying there, the green, white and orange, and of course supported by the Palestinian flag. Because it's not as if we have enough troubles of our own in Northern Ireland, we'll pick up some from around the world as well. And this side of the community, they would side with Palestine, Whereas the other side of the community, the Protestant side, they would, of course, well, if it's Palestine here, what is it over there? Israel, of course. As I say, we don't have enough troubles of our own. Enough peace to settle. We'll pick somebody else as well. Now, Seamus is going to pull up on the left, just at St Congo's school here on the left-hand side, directly opposite Percy Street on the right. There's a gap here in the wall. Seamus is going to let us have a look in there. And if we look inside, we can see, just here, look, we can see the bullet holes around about that window there. In October of 1969, Protestant paramilitary forces in Percy Street on the right-hand side opened fire against Catholic paramilitaries on the left-hand side here. Believe it or not, the children went back to school the next day. Now when we get to the next set of traffic lights, we are going to turn to the right. But as we do so, there's a few murals to be seen here, and one of the most important and relevant murals in this area is these 10 men on our right-hand side, hunger strikers, the first of which was Bobby Sands. The thing is, that when they were first put in prison, they were given political status. Then that status was taken away. These men took to what was known as the blanket men, because they wouldn't wear prison uniforms. They weren't allowed to wear their own clothes. They wouldn't wear prison uniforms. They only wore a blanket, and that's represented on there, as we see Brendan Hughes. And then that turned from that to the dirty protest, where they just smeared their cells and everything with excrement. It was a terrible, terrible protest, awful thing to happen. These guys were putting themselves through hell, and then it was suggested that they go on hunger strike to get their demands met. The only problem was they were up against Maggie Thatcher, and she was not going to give in. Even when Bobby Sands was elected as an MP for Fermanagh and South Tyrone, she still didn't give in, and she allowed one of her own MPs, because that's basically what he was, to take his own life. And then another 9 men followed him, starving themselves to death. It took Bobby Sands 66 days to die, and I have to tell you, I don't agree with what he stood for. I don't. However, I have to admire his tenacity and his courage to see it through in the first place. You know, that has to be admired. On our right-hand side, we can see between Ireland and Palestine here, we can see the British offering the Irish Bobby Sands food, and he's saying no, and Kader Adnan getting offered food by the Israeli side, and he's saying no. There was a 3-day siege here during 1970, where the whole of the Falls Road on the left-hand side was cordoned off by the British military. And they went in searching for guns. Maybe prior to that siege, there maybe would have been 2 or 3 IRA volunteers. By the time they had finished that, there was over 100, because of the brutal way that the British Army went in. And I think they were wrong. Listen, I mean, the IRA did a lot of wrong things. The UDA did an awful lot of wrong things, but the British military did a lot of wrong things as well. Everybody has to hold their hand up and say, look, maybe we could have done this a bit better. Although really, and I'll tell you this, if it had went along as a political thing instead of insurrection and insurgency, that, you know, would have been probably the answer to it in the first place. Now, as we turn to the right, we get a lot more murals here, including a lot of support for the Irish Republican causes, whether it's the IRA, the INLA, the IRA, of course, the Irish Republican Army, the INLA, the Irish National Liberation Army, and showing their solidarity with causes throughout the world. But there's one coming up here, and I think it's a fantastic one, and it's one you probably would not expect to see on a mural in Belfast. And it's a black man, a coloured man, and there he is, Frederick Douglass, an absolute hero of a man, a good friend of Abraham Lincoln, and he was the mainstay behind slave ships not coming into Ireland. He got that stopped. So he's on a mural here in Belfast. Now we've just left the Catholic side, through no man's land, and here we are now on the Protestant side. And what we can see that everywhere, the Union flag flying, the Ulster Division of the 36th Ulster Division, the UVF, and we turn to the left here to take us up towards the Peace Wall.
Got a nice lot of that.
There's a mural coming up here, and I don't quite get it, because it shows Alice in Wonderland and the Cheshire Cat and all that kind of thing. Obviously, we all know that was Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll was a guy called Charles Ludwig Dodson. He was from Cheshire in England, and he met up with the Carrolls in Llandudno. And he, I don't know, I think his interest in young Alice Liddell was perhaps more than just interest, but he wrote that book about her, Alice in Wonderland. I have stayed in Alice's house in Llandudno. It's now a hotel. Actually, I think it's now knocked down, but it was a hotel when I stayed in it. And here ahead of us is the Peace Wall. Well, so-called Peace Walls. It divides two communities. It extends to our left. These gates here close at night and will be opened again in the morning. We'll be turning to the right. We're going to go all the way along this bit of the Peace Wall. And this, I'm not so keen on this anymore. It used to have great murals, and it didn't matter that they were paramilitary murals or political murals or what have you. It used to have them, and they were great. Painted by local artists, very colourful, and you know, no matter what you say, it's the culture of this country. And there's a few of them there, but that's not what it used to be. It's now all this, you know, modern graffiti. I would like to see it return to what it was. Even though it was, you know, paramilitary murals, it doesn't matter. It's part of the history. You cannot change history by just painting over it with graffiti. You can't deny something happened by knocking down a statue.
Yeah.
Now we're going to pull up and stop very shortly. Let me see where now. Just up at the other side of that taxi. Yes, the other side of it. Because it's just up here that President Bill Clinton signed the wall. Now, I was out in this bus. Was it you driving, Seamus? No, I can't remember who it was who was driving. But we had Chelsea Clinton on the bus. She was sitting just back there where you're sitting. And I stopped here, got driver to stop here. And I said, "Look, do you want to sign the wall where your dad signed it?" "No, I do not," she said. But if you want to sign the wall, I've got a Sharpie here. If anybody wants to get out and leave a little message or what have you, just put your hand up and we'll open the door and let you out. Nope. Yes? No? Okay. Right, fair enough. We'll move on. No problem.
I'm fine.
Oh, I didn't want him in front of us, but there he is. I wrote the script for that tour. See, the thing is, there's so many people say, "Oh, I need a blue badge guide." Worst people in the world, blue badge guide. They would just bore you and bore you with history and history and history. And nobody remembers. You know, they're just throwing stuff at you and you don't have a good fun day out. You want somebody to remember something, give them a little bit of fun and they'll remember it. See, if another convertible car and the roof's up. What are these people like? Convertible bus going about there, the roof's off. Wasn't always, you know, there used to be a top on that bus. Canvas top. Okay, as we turn to the right, look look to your left, and where that car's coming through now, there's two big gates there, and they're controlled electronically.
What am I looking at?
They're controlled by a
gate.
police station
Oh.
about a half a mile off to our right-hand side. There are CCTV cameras on the gates of that gap, and there's a CCTV camera on the police station pointing in this direction. And at the first sign of any trouble, there's a policeman in there, he pushes a button, and that gate closes.
Bloody hell.
Now, at the end of this piece of road, we're going to turn to the right, and that'll take us on the Shankill Road. The Shankill is Irish, even though this is the most British street in the whole of the United Kingdom. Anywhere, this is the most British of them all. You'll see that as we go down here. People proudly flying the Union flag, bunting of red, white and blue everywhere. But Shankill means old church. Remember, kill means church, Shan is old. And the old church is up there to our left-hand side. It looks like a mosque minaret sticking up, but that's part of the old church. The Shamrock Church. Because you look down on it from above, if you were able to, you would see that it looks like the leaves of a shamrock.
Oh my God.
Now this is where we start to see all the paramilitary murals here on the Shankill Road. The first one that you see is coming up, and it's dedicated to the White Rock Flute Band. Yes, they would be seen as paramilitaries, or certainly supporting paramilitaries. The next one coming up is to the UVF, the Ulster Volunteer Force. Number 4 platoon, UVF. Okay, the thing is that these guys have taken the name of a fine unit that fought in World War I. The Ulster Volunteer Force, who were put together by Lord Edward Carson to stop Ireland from getting its freedom and becoming a republic. They ended up as the 36th Ulster Division, fought in the world. On the left-hand side, more of the UVF. These guys used to have their faces covered. Not anymore, they're now all dead. They could pull in at a court credit union. The reason their faces are uncovered now is they're all dead. So, you know, they won't be arrested, you can see who they are. But these are the kind of people that you would have to deal with if you got anything wrong in this area. It wouldn't be the police you'd be dealing with, it'd be these guys. Now here on the left-hand side, the Court Credit Union, there used to be a shop here, a fish shop, Frizzell's Fish Shop, and it tells you on the plaque that on the 23rd of October 1993, a bomber pulled up here in a car. There were 2 of them in the car. One of them got out and he placed a bomb on the counter of Frizzell's Fish Shop. As he did so, it went off and it demolished the building. The reason they say, the IRA say they did it, is because the UVF headquarters were upstairs and they believed there was going to be a meeting there of the top UVF men, Protestant paramilitaries. So the IRA, Catholic paramilitaries, they decided they were going to destroy that. 9 people were killed there, including a newborn baby. As retaliation for that, at Halloween, in a town of Greysteel, a little pub up there, 3 men walked in, dressed with guns and masks on. They went in and said, "Trick or treat." Everybody laughed until they emptied the machine guns into the customers in the bar as retaliation for that.
I remember that.
Excuse me. Coming up on our left-hand side, a little bit of Britain here, and the Rex Bar. Unfortunately, it's called Moscow Street. The Queen, well recognised here, as of course is King Charles. There was a fruit shop up here, and Bill Clinton's entourage, his cars, came along this way where we are now, and he asked them to stop. He went into the fruit shop and he got an apple. He didn't pay for it, they gave him it. And within 5 minutes of Bill Clinton leaving the store, there was a sign in the window: "The President of the United States of America shops here." Well, they don't miss a trick. On the right hand side, the Biardo bar. Another atrocity happened here, and that's a bar that I would have drank in a long time ago. Biardo bar. There was a bomb was thrown into it. It wasn't a real bomb, it was a fake one, but it looked real. And it was fizzing on the floor with a bit of a fuse on it. Everybody run out of the bar, only to be met by two men standing outside who machine gunned them. Another atrocity, yeah. And on the wall here, again, various ones that happened here. The Biardo, the Frizzell's fish shop. As I said, these are things that happened. They're part of history, and it's not right that we ignore them. And I think, in fact, they should be included in any tour of Belfast to remind us of what this place used to be like. No longer, though. This is one of the nicest places in the world to be. And as I said, never be afraid to go up any road and talk to people, say hello, good morning, have you lived here all your life, that kind of thing. You know, speak to people, they'll talk back to you. Ask them about these things, they'll tell you about them. Take the right hand side of the road, be an American, go on. And we can see on the hill ahead of us, this is called Napoleon's Nose. You see the two swollen lips and then the nose, and then as we go further up you see the sloping hill, which would be the long forehead of Napoleon, supposed to be exactly like his death mask. And that's how it got the name Napoleon's Nose. And I bet you didn't know that. And yet the people for Belfast call it that, but they think it's for the face of Gulliver, the first one that I pointed out. They think it's that nose, it's not. That's it there. We're going to be turning to the right, down the Crumlin Road.
That's the other side, I think.
And we're going to go very slowly past. If we get an opportunity to stop, please do. Ahead of us, this is another interface area, because over there, that's all Catholic community. Here is Protestant community. However, having said that, Catholic community, they support Palestine, but it was over there that Chaim Hershok, the President of Israel, was born. You'll notice that we're at green, but the cars are still coming through the other lights. Nobody cares. If this was America, there'd be horns getting blown everywhere.
Turn on the music tonight.
Yeah. Take your life in your hands.
Now, on our left-hand side, coming up, is the Crumlin Road Jail. And the first buildings we see are houses, and they were the houses where the prison warders lived. But they were getting attacked, they were getting petrol bombed, and windows were getting broken regularly, so the prison warders were moved out to safer accommodation, and these houses were given over to people coming from other countries seeking refuge from political and religious discrimination, and they came to Belfast. Now, just where these people are standing on the left-hand side, they're going to pull in and stop, and that's the Crumlin Road Jail in there. This is a single cell occupancy, so one person, one cell in there. And it's a fantastic tour. Well, it used to be, because it was done by ex-prisoners who were in there. Now you get this map and a guided thing and you go and do it yourself. I far preferred it when the guy told you what he had done and why he was in there and how he resolved his issues and became the man that he is today. Much better. And the thing is that weren't just paramilitaries in there. You had Protestant paramilitaries, you had IRA paramilitaries, you had the real IRA, the continuity IRA, I can't believe it's not the IRA. You had them all in there. But there was also ODCs. You know what an ODC is? No? ordinary decent criminal. You had them as well. Ian Paisley himself served some time in there. On the right hand side, this is the Crumlin Road Jail. It was a beautiful building, a masterpiece, and really deserved to be preserved. We can't touch it because we sold it to a Canadian. Guess how much it was sold for?
Not
Go on, throw a penny in the bag. Go on. £1 is exactly what it was sold for. The £1 for the stamp where the guy signed his name on it, that was it. £1, and now he wants to sell it back. It's got full planning permission for a hotel or turn it into a casino or what have you. Right below us there is a tunnel, and if you were in there and found guilty by the judge, you were taken down the tunnel, through the tunnel, and you emerged in the building on the left where you spent your time. Thank you, Seamus.
Beautiful building.
Would have been. Can't stay on the bus now, can you?
We're getting to the busy time of day, but we'll join in with the traffic. We'll take it on the chin, just carry on. But you notice how the traffic wardens were up for us at the Giant's Causeway, trying to move us on. But they won't come here and take people in a bus lane. I mean, it's after 4:30,
Yeah.
so that's a bus lane now, and it should be empty. The traffic wardens were moving us on, even though I tried to talk when they went to install them. That's what I was doing. I was nattering back and forward, installing them, waiting for you guys to come back. All we need to do is a couple of minutes. Unfortunately, I didn't get long enough. We had to go around the block again. But no traffic wardens here. On the left-hand side, this is the Mater Infirmary. This hospital, back in the 1970s and 80s, was full of injuries from bombs and shootings and what have you. However, there was one lady in there. Her name was Myra Drummond. She was a Sinn Féin politician. She had declared that she would watch Belfast burn to the ground, brick by brick, before she would even consider allowing it to continue as part of Britain. She woke up one morning in her hospital bed. There were 3 men at the bottom of the bed, all wearing white doctor's coats. They asked her to confirm her identity. She agreed that she was indeed Myra Drum. They opened her coats and produced 3 submachine guns, and they all emptied them into her as she lay in her hospital bed. On the front right hand side, this statue of King Billy up on the top of the building there shows how much Northern Ireland has changed. Even King Billy's gone green. As we continue on down the road, this takes us past St Patrick's Church. This was once recognised as a cathedral, not anymore, but there is a fantastically beautiful painting in there, and it shows Virgin Mary and St Patrick, and I think it's John the Baptist as well, all together, and they reckon it's worth about $3 million, or pounds rather, should I say. And just the last house, just before we get to the church, if you take a careful look at the doors of the buildings, you see this very special door on the priest's house. Just down by that silver car. Yeah, and you see the fantastic brass door there.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. We'll want to shine that up, would you?
Just up ahead of us, this is part of the Victoria Square shopping centre, and you can grow tomatoes in there. The heat in that dome is incredible. On the right hand side, the Kremlin bar, and you can see by the flags outside it what type of bar that is. It's where Seamus and I first met. He's such a good dancer. Just swept me off my feet. As I've got to tell you, couldn't. Now we're turning to the right once again, and we'll pass by where Adrian Dunbar would have went in and out of the police station here at Central Library in Belfast. And this time, though, we're going to go straight on and take us through the shopping area of Belfast. Now, You had to be searched to go into Belfast, no matter what you were in, even if you were in a bus. It was stopped at the gates at the entrance to the centre of Belfast, and a civilian search unit got on the bus and he'd have walked around, and if he didn't like the look of you, you'd have been selected for a personal search. There were massive barriers here with gates on them. They were manned by armed police, armed soldiers, and specially trained civilian search units. You had to be searched before you went in. And these gates were the height of a double-decker bus, and they were closed at 10 o'clock at night and opened again the next morning. And they were right across the road, right here. And there should have been something there to remind us of that. Once you were in this area, going into any shop again, you were searched once more. We just got used to it. You walked into the shop and you lifted your arms up and they patted you down and run over a metal detector with you, just to see if you bleeped.
Yeah.
One of my favourite buildings is coming up on the right-hand side, sitting just back off the road. It used to be a bank, then it became a Tesco Metro store. There it is on the right. It's now number 2 Royal Avenue.
There's a McDonald's.
And the building next to it, Primark building, that burned down, what was it, about 8 years ago? I think it was. Burned down. They were repairing the roof and the roof caught fire and it burnt from the top down and it absolutely gutted the building. Completely gutted it. Not a thing was left. People got out, nobody was hurt. They all got out in time. But now they've rebuilt it. And they've even replaced the clock at the top of it. I think it's fantastic. So little girls can go in there again and buy their pyjamas so they can go shopping. Do they do that where you are? Do they wear pyjamas when they're out shopping? Do they?
Yeah, they do.
You don't do that though, do you?
No.
Put the dressing gowns
With the
on.
rollers and the rollers and
Yeah, that's my goodness. I mean, really, I think that's terrible because you're using your sleeping gear to go out shopping with. I mean, you still got your bed bugs on you.
They go out their underwear now.
Oh goodness.
They wear basques now.
The American Embassy here, McDonald's. And just here in Donegal Place, we see some artistic representations of some of the ships that were built by Harland and Wolff. The Traffic, the Nomadic. The Nomadic is back in Belfast. She was a tender to the Titanic at Cherbourg. Titanic could not get into Cherbourg Harbour, so the Nomadic was used to bring second and third class passengers out to the ship. She was found on the Seine, and she was brought back to Belfast where she was completely refurbished and is now on display next to the Titanic Museum. If you want souvenirs in Belfast, only one place to go, and that's it on the right, Carol's Gifts and Souvenirs. Great souvenir shop, lots and lots of good stuff in there, and all, there's no shabby stuff in there, it's all good stuff. Belfast became a city in 1888, and by 1906, the old linen hall that used to stand where this building on our right is was knocked down, and this was built. Belfast City Hall, from a design by Arthur Brumwell Thomas. He was only in his 20s, and the design was copied almost exactly in Durban, South Africa. Now Seamus is slowing down here to let you see this man on the right. That's Lord Edward Harland. He's standing with his left hand on a boat, and he has his back to this statue that we're about to pass. And the reason he has his back to it is in shame, because this is Thane, the goddess of the sea, and she's holding a laurel wreath out to the victims of the Titanic in the water. The wall behind Thane shows every single name of every person that died on that fateful day. The City Hall is built in white Portland stone. Fine building indeed. And if you look at the street just to the left hand side here, it's called Linen Hall Street, and that's because that's the street and this would have been the Linen Hall before it was knocked down and this fine building erected. And with that, boys and girls, that brings us back to our starting point very shortly.